Jennifer from Scrapping Under the Influence. I am back with a new project today. For this project, I have used the Country Craft Creations exclusive Majestic Dreams paper. So what I've done is a folio. This is 8.5 by 8.5. As you can see, there's a ton of flowers on the front of this. I really did nothing as far as embellishments inside because, yeah, we did this. So what I used here were, of course, Graphic 45 flowers, and then this little frame in the center was a Prima frame that I think maybe sold out. I actually didn't look yet to see if they're still there or not. I've had it for a while, so I'm thinking these are probably sold out at this point, unfortunately. But you could do something similar with chipboard and ink it up and make it look like wood, and that would work great. So I did double matte my front cover, my spine, and my back cover. This paper was one I wasn't like super sure about. Like, it was pretty, but I wasn't sure how it would come together until I started actually matting this. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this paper. So, very simple design. We've got flaps on both sides. We're going to start over here on the left-hand side. And I did use magnets to close. So this folds down. We've got stacked pockets here, and I did notch those so that, just to give them a little bit more interest. We've got a big pocket here, and then on top of that, I've got two expanding photo pockets. These are sized to hold 4x6 pictures, just, you know, a couple of stacks of 4x6 pictures. So if you are going to redo this project in like Christmas paper or Halloween paper, or, you know, something from like for a vacation or whatever, you can put a bunch of pictures in here, and you'll have lots of space in there to put those in. So this is going to close back up. On this side, again, magnetic closure. Again, we've got the stacked pockets on the flap. And then here, I've just done just a flip book, essentially. And I did go ahead, I was going to put photo mats in here, and then I thought about it and really was kind of like, you know what? I think I'm going to leave it just as is because this paper is so pretty. And I really just wanted it, you know, that way. And then another large pocket there to tuck other things into. So, fairly simple project. It goes together really, really quickly. And the tutorial starts now. Okay, so we're going to start with two pieces of chipboard 8.5 by 8.5 and one piece 8.5 by 1.5. And I put tape over where I wrote that on that one, so sorry. We're going to wrap the two larger pieces with two pieces of cardstock 10.5 by 10.5. So I'm going to lay that on my scoreboard. I'm going to grab my 1-inch spacers and get the backing off of my tape. You can glue these down, but it has a much smoother, it goes down much smoother with the tape versus the glue. You don't have to worry about glue lines or it bubbling. Okay, there's one. There's my second one. Maybe. New pokey tool I'm trying to get used to. I'm not quite used to it yet. Okay. All right. Put that one out to the side. I'm going to move my 1-inch spacer. Put my 4.5 by 10.5 piece that's going to be for my spine. I'm going to add my 1.5-inch spacer. Okay. there's that one. So we're done with these. I'm going to go ahead and put those away. And they do sell these cute little pouches for your spacers on Country Craft Creations. All right. Let's move the scoreboard for right now. And what I'm going to do is just using the chipboard, I'm going to fold the cardstock around the chipboard. Okay. And then I'm going to grab maybe this, my 1/4-inch score tape, just because hand cramps. I have a hard time with just glue. So we're going to cut out the corners on this all the way around. And all you're doing is you're just cutting along that fold line. Okay. Now I'm going to come in and miter those ever so slightly. That's good. That's okay. I know what piece I didn't cut. I did not cut my reinforcement piece. But that's okay. We'll get to that in a minute. So I am going to use a combination of score tape and glue. You can use just glue. I have some issues with my hands cramping up, so I prefer to use a combination because then I don't have to burnish it quite as much. And you know it helps when you actually take the backing off of the tape before you try to glue it down, huh? Hello. Oh, good Lord. Okay, come on. All right, so we're going to go up and over. You're not going to do anything with the side pieces on the spine piece. All we need to wrap are the top and bottom. Okay, go right down. And then I'm going to turn this one over, and I'm going to take my bone folder. I'm going to go down along the edge of that chipboard, and I'm just going to work the cardstock over the edge of that chipboard. Okay? So you can see how it's now very defined on this side, not so much on this side. That's what we want, is we want that definition. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and prep this again. And even if you aren't using score tape to wrap, I would suggest doing it on your spine simply because it's going to help when you glue your cover pieces to your spine. It's going to help it grab again immediately, and it's going to keep it from shifting ever so slightly before the glue dries. I had not been doing this for a while and realized I'd had a couple of just kind of screwy covers that didn't come out quite right, and finally realized it was because I'm putting that down, burnishing it down, and when I'm turning it over, or even when I'm burnishing it down, I'm ending up pushing it just slightly where it ends up being off. But that's just my tip for you for this today. Okay, so we're going to wrap our chipboard on our cover pieces. one as well. Okay, so again, you're just going to go on those fold lines and you're going to cut out those corners on both pieces and miter. Okay, when I'm mitering, I'm folding that over, putting my scissors against the edge of the chipboard and just pushing it ever so slightly and trimming that off. You don't need to be super aggressive. You don't want the chipboard showing through on the corners, but you also don't want the cardstock hanging over on the corners once you get all of these folded over and adhered down. Okay, miter again. So like I said, because otherwise my hand is going to completely cramp up on me, I am going to go ahead and put my tape around on the sides. And I am just going to do it on the cardstock itself, again, just because that way when I fold it over, it grabs immediately. You can do it around the edge of the chipboard as well. I've been doing it that way again recently here. And I don't really think, especially when you're gluing, I don't know that it's really, that you really need it as well. As long as you have the tape on this outside edge where it will grab, you're fine. All right, so I'm going to go all the way around this. Stuck to the tip of this again. And I am just going to pop off that score tape backing. And then I'm going to come back with my glue along the chipboard in the middle section. And then with my bone folder, I'm going to push up and over. Turn it around. And I mean, you could just, you know, put the side up, turn, put the side up. I'm weird. I like it to be somewhat symmetrical on this. So that's how I tend to do it. That's why I tend to turn it quite a bit. But you absolutely do not have to do it that way. Okay. Again, I'm going to pop that backing off of the tape. Okay. on my board right there that I don't realize is there. I have to wipe that off here in just a second. Because it's trying to catch on something and I'm not sure what that is. Okay. I'm going to move those really quickly. I'm not sure what that is. It's glue. It's probably glue. It's always glue. Sometimes ink. Okay. So now, you want your spine, good side facing up. You want your covers, good side facing up. Okay? What I'm going to do is get the backing off of the tape on one side. I'm going to run glue. You don't want to go all the way to the chipboard, but you do want a decent amount in there. And I'm going to lay this on top of the spine. Okay, so it's going to come out to the side a bit. I'm going to use my fingernail on the top. I'm going to watch it on the, so fingernail up here, watch down here. And I'm going to guide this until it slides off of the chipboard, and then I'm going to push it down. And because I have the tape there, it's going to grab immediately. Okay, so I'm not going to accidentally push it out of alignment. Turn around. And again, I'm going to get our backing off. Glue on here. Okay, and again, you can feel it drop off that side. And we can go down and burnish. And then we can flip it over, burnish on the opposite side, and work that chipboard down in the middle there. Okay, so I forgot to cut my piece for the center there. So let me grab pieces for in the book. Okay. So this needs to be 8 3/8 by, we're gonna go 6. So I'm gonna cut 6. And then 8 3/8. Okay, so this piece you do want to use tape. Let me see here. So I am going to take a score tape sheet instead of, personally I prefer the rolls. The sheets are really good, but I do like the rolls better, except for this part. So I'm going to line this up on top of my piece, pull it over, fold that down out of the way, take my craft knife, and I'm going to run right along the edge of that. And then I've got another half that I can use for something else. And then we'll take and run knife along the top there to get that top piece off. For this piece, you want to make sure that you don't have any any score tape overhanging on your edges. So you want to make sure that those are nice and clean. Got a little out of whack on this corner right here. Actually, that might just be backing. It is just backing. Okay, we're good. All right, so I'm going to bring this back in. I am going to dry fit it first and make sure I've got it the right height. Make sure it's going to cover my two little spine wings there and all of that. Get the backing off here. Maybe. Okay. And again. And the reason you want the tape on this one, glue, it will bubble. You can end up with glue lines, but mostly it's going to bubble and it's not going to go down nearly as smoothly. Then I'm going to burnish. I'm going to fold up. I'm going to take my bone folder. I'm going to work that crease where that spine folds up, or for that cover folds up. I'm going to bring it on the other side and do the same thing. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to make sure everything's good. All right, so there's our cover. So we are going to start on the right-hand side. So for this right-hand side, actually, no, we're going to start on the left because I know that's what this pile is over here. Oh my gosh, okay. So for our base pocket, we need a piece that is 9.5. No, I'm sorry, that's not right. 9.5 by 7.5. Okay. So I am going to score this with the 9.5 at the top of the scoreboard. I'm going to score 1/2 inch. I'm going to turn this 1/2 inch again, turn, and 1/2 inch. Okay. Then, because I would like this pocket to be notched, I am going to grab my envelope punch board. I am going to go to 1.5 inches from the score line. So my score line is right here. I'm lining that up with the 1.5 on the board. Okay. Set that aside because we will be using that off and on throughout the project. If I can find my ruler here. Okay, so you can trim this little strip off with your ruler and a craft knife. You can do it in your paper trimmer, which I'm going to be brave and do it in my paper trimmer. I may regret this, we'll see. All right, there we go. Okay. We're going to miter our corners. We're going to miter the top corner. And then where those score lines intersect on the bottom, we're going to cut straight through those. Okay? So like so. Okay. But before we put that one down, we have two flaps that need to go. That is not them. They're over here. I apologize. A couple of these elements repeat on each side of the folio. That's why I've got them in two different places. So for our flaps, we need 8.5 by 9 3/8. With the 9 3/8 at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score it 1/2 inch. And then you're going to score at 7/8. Okay. same thing with the next piece is going to be 4.5 by 8.5. With the 4.5 at the top, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, and then at 7/8. Okay. We are going to round our corners on these. So I have my little We Are Memory Keepers corner rounder, also available in the Country Craft Creations store. I'm going to round those corners. Okay, so you have a choice. Your flaps can come in and close like this. They can come in like this. You can go top and bottom, whichever way you want to do it. Sorry, we're on the wrong side. We're on this side. Going to have it close like so. So I'm going to miter from the first score line out. Fold and burnish. I'm going to dry fit it to make sure it's not too wide. We're going to go to the outside edge, bottom corner. I'm going to glue it down. I realize I have not folded my second score line. We will do that after this is glued down, just to make sure we've got this lined up right. When you have that other one folded, sometimes it can make it a little bit tricky to get the score line, or I'm sorry, to get this put down in the right place. Okay. One other thing to mention, I know I said 8.5 by 9 7/8. You want to make sure that you're cutting just a hair under 8.5. You don't want it to be exactly 8.5 because otherwise it's going to run in to your spine when you open and close your book, and you don't want that. Okay. So you want it just a hair under. Okay. So now that's down. We can fold the other score line back on itself. And there we have our gusset. Okay. I'm going to turn it around. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to miter from our first score line out. I'm going to fold. Make sure I open that up. Fold and burnish. And actually, we can do these on the one that goes on this side as well before we get any further, because otherwise, I know how I operate. I'll forget to put it on there and glue something down that needs to be on top of it. Because, again, if you've followed me for any length of time, you know that's exactly something I would do. Okay, so I'm burnishing that, holding it back against itself. Okay, there's that. I am also going to add magnets because, I don't know, I like my magnets. I know they have been a little bit harder to get right now, but I just really hate ribbon. And I don't like to do stuff with ribbon if I can help it. I much prefer the magnets. So, alright, so I'm going to start on my flap. I'm going to put it down about almost an inch because you want to make sure it's not too close to that edge so that it bubbles up. And I'm actually going to leave it just like that for now because, actually no, because I'm going to do this other one the opposite direction, so it'll be okay. The backing off of this one, perhaps. Okay, And all I'm going to do, since this does have a gusset in there, I'm actually going to take my phone and lay my phone under there. And I'm going to lay this down. That way I'm not putting it too far over because there's nothing underneath it yet. And that way it will line up exactly once there is stuff underneath it. So we're going to go ahead and do those same flaps on this opposite side. So again, 4.5 by 8.5, 8.5 by 9 3/8. Nine 3/8 at the top. We're going to score it 1/2 inch, and it's 7/8. So 7/8. Here's your 1 inch. Okay, there's your 1 inch. It's a little mark between 3/4 and 1 inch is 7/8. Okay, so there's our 4.5 by 8.5, and again 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch. And a miter. And then I'm going to use my corner rounder. Okay. All right, so this one opens little flap up, big flap down. This one I'm going to go big flap up, little flap down. So I'm going to start with my little flap on the bottom. So I think I want to go that way. Maybe I want to keep it consistent. No, I think I'm going to keep it consistent. You can do it whichever way you see fit, but I think I am going to keep it consistent. I was going to have them go opposite each other, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Okay, so again, going outside edge, bottom corner, flush with the bottom. Okay, and then fold back on itself. And there's that one. And then same thing on the opposite side. Oop, didn't let it dry enough. So let's try that one more time. All right, there we go. Okay, so then we'll do our magnets again. Okay, so I want that one down that way. I need this one to go this way. I want the magnets to oppose each other. Okay, see if I put that down, it's going to connect, and I don't want them to do that when the book is closed. So that means, okay, that's what I got. Just want to make sure, and I mean, that may not be something that matters a whole lot to you. It's just one of those things I've done on projects before, and I've really been irritated at myself that I did it that way, because then I have things that stick. But again, it's not a big deal. Okay, so we're about an inch down. I'm going to drag my phone in here again. Just lay it down so there's something for that to sit on top of. Back off over here, maybe. And there we go. All right. So back to the left side of our folio here. So we have our pocket that we cut. We're going to go ahead and fold and burnish. Okay. This is going to be side loading like so. So I want to get this in here. I don't want to, before I put any glue or try to stick it down, I want to make sure that it's not running into my flaps. And we're good. If it is, you're going to want to take probably about a 1/16 of an inch off, and you're going to want to rescore it. So you're going to have basically 2 score lines, which can be kind of hard to fold, but you want to make sure it's not going to interfere with either one of your flaps here. Okay, so this is going all the way to the outside edge. Maybe we'll burnish that down. Okay, and on pockets I like to do one side, whether it's a side or the bottom, doesn't really matter. Whatever's easiest for you. First, to make sure I've got it straight, make sure it sticks down, make sure everything's, you know, the way I want it to be. And then I'll do the sides. Because if I've only got one side glued down and realize something's wrong, it's much easier to fix than when all 3 sides are glued down. Okay, so on top of this, we're going to have a couple of photo patches. Okay, so let's move that out of the way. And really, this is narrow enough. We could have gone with a 1-inch spine and we would have been fine, but we didn't. We went with a 1.5, which is fine. Okay, so the photo pockets, you need 2 pieces, 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. With the, doesn't matter, because that's 7 1/4 square. You're going to start, you're going to go 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5. Turn it all the way around, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5. Okay. When you're done with that, between the innermost score lines, it should be 4 1/4 inch. Should be your space in between. Okay. You're going to turn it so that those score lines that you just did are running opposite the way you score, and you're going to go 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. Okay. We're going to do that on both pieces. So 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, turn it all the way around, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, quarter turn, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch. Okay. Now then, let's grab our envelope board again. This time, you're going to line this up at 2 1/8, 2 1/8. I'm just double checking that I have it lined up right. And all we're going to do is just notch that. We're not going to cut the whole thing out. We just want that notch. Okay? Now, when I initially was sketching this out, I was going to put a window in on this pocket. Now I'm debating if I want it or not. We could do that. I think we're going to. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it over so that the bumpy side of the score line, so this is where you're going to fold towards, is up. I'm going to come up. Let's go 3/4 of an inch from this bottom score line. So this is the bottom of your pocket. This is the top. Okay. So we're going to be 3/4 of an inch from that bottom pocket. You're going to come in 3/4 of an inch from this side. Actually, no, I think I want 1/2 inch. So let's back that out a little bit more. Or do I? Let me think, sorry. No. Let's go 3/4 because then our frame piece can be a little bit bigger. That's going to make it really tiny, isn't it? Yeah, that's going to be too small. Okay. So yeah, I think we're going to do it. You know what? We're not going to do a window. It's fine. I'm tired, and I am too tired for this. Okay, so top of your pocket, you're going to very, very small, gentle miter all the way across. Okay. So you're going to start that innermost score line, and you're going to miter. Okay. On the bottom, you're going to cut on that in. So here's 1, 2, 3, third score line in, straight up to the second score line. Okay. Then, actually, you're not going to do that yet. You're going to come across here, and you're going to cut straight across here. Okay. Same thing on the opposite side. So this is what it's going to look like. Very slight mitering across here. Cut the square out on the bottom. I'm going to do that on both of these. Okay. You're going to fold this over. I'm going to go in, out, in. So you're going to have an accordion fold. Notice how I'm pushing it down in the middle. You're going to start from the middle and burnish out. That will help keep it from going crooked when you're folding. Okay. So again, in, out, in. Hold it down in the middle. Burnish out. Burnish out. Okay. These two, you're going to fold that bottom score line up, burnish, and then your little 1/4 inch, burnish. This 1/2 inch is what's going to get glued down in the book. Okay. So this is going to be another case where we want to make sure actually I might have done these wrong. No, I think we're okay. All right. We need to make sure that these are going to sit next to each other and not impede anything. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Okay. Fold and fold. So what I'm doing, you've got your two pieces here, folding those first two in, leaving that one out, folding that in, and then, okay, like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up to the outside edge here. And line this one up to the outside edge on the other side. They should sit on here side by side. Not quite. They are not wrong. Okay, I have to look at it for a minute. Sorry. What we need to do is miter on here. And it does need to be somewhat aggressive. Okay, that's why I was having an issue. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I apologize. Okay, so these are going to be tight right up next to each other, which is what we want. Okay, but before we can glue these down, you do need to mat just a strip across here so that it's underneath these. So I'm going to set these aside for right now, and we'll put those down after we do some matting. But before we do that, we're going to do our pockets that go on this side, which are right here. Okay, so 9.5 by 5.5, 9.5 by 7.5. So same as the base pocket on this side. All right, so we are going to, with the 9.5 at the top, score 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch again. Okay. For the 5.5 by 9.5, again, you're going to start 9.5 at the top, score 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch again. Okay, you're going to notch these as well. So again, you're going to get that score line lined up 1.5 and punch. Turn it over 1.5 and punch. I'm going to do that on this one as well. Okay, and then we're going to miter. We're going to miter the top. We're going to miter through where our score lines cross. That will make your pocket lay much flatter because you're not going to have the bulk of the cardstock overlapping in the corner. Because if you do straight across there, when you fold these over, it should fold and line up exactly, like so. See? There you go. That's what you're going for when you're mitering those bottom corners on a pocket. Okay. Before I put them down, I'm going to glue the smaller pocket on top of the larger pocket before we go and put it in our book. I just think it's going to be easier if they're already lined up where they need to be. Okay. Get a little bit of glue that kind of leaked out. Get my sides. Fold those up and over. Okay. Grab our flap. I'm sorry, our flap, our book. I can't talk today. I am so sorry. Okay. This is going to go down here. But you'll notice we've rounded that bottom. So what I'm going to do, stick this in here. And it may not want to go. We're going to have to force it. It's not going to go. I don't think my other punch is quite the same. Oh, and I didn't cut those out. I'm on a roll today, can you tell? Holy crap. Okay. Now we can get the first one without too much hassle. That one, I don't know if I still have. Bear with me 1 second here. I'm looking for. I think I can get it. Yep, I can. Okay. So this isn't really meant to be cut on, but we'll make it work. We will make it work. Okay. Okay. There we go. Put that away. All right. It's not totally cut through, but it's enough that I can do this very gently and get just that and not anything underneath it. So lesson here, don't be like me. Pay attention to what the heck you're trying to do here. All right, so let me look really quickly. Let me find a scrap of paper. Let's see if my big one here is the same. I think it is. Okay. It is close enough. We will do that. All right. So round them before you put them together because otherwise you gotta fight with it. Okay, there we go. Now then, we can put this down on our flap. So, In this case, I am going to do all 3 sides at the same time just because we just wasted an inordinate amount of time on me not thinking about this before I did it, which has been par for the course lately, but you know, here we are. Okay, so there's that, and that's done. This we're just going to mat and make it pretty. Nothing is going on the front of the pockets, the flaps. Yeah, the flaps. I know what I'm trying to say, I promise. All right, so on this side, we're going to do another base pocket like we've done. Okay, so that is 9.5 by 7.5 again. I'm going to score it 1/2 inch, starting on the 9.5 inch side. Turn, 1/2 inch, and turn. We're going to miter, and then we are going to notch. And again, score line at 1.5. And we are going to fold and burnish. And again, before we actually put it down permanently, we're going to make sure it's not too wide. Somehow this one's like slightly smaller. I don't know what I did. I probably measured it wrong when I cut it. I would not be the least bit surprised. Oh yeah, we're off by a whole 1/4 inch. What on earth did I do? Apparently I can't measure. Is this news to anybody? Probably not. Alright, so we're going to fix that one. So that should have been 9.5, not 9.25. This is actually good because I can show you when I say to cut it, you know, just slightly under. So I'm going to go 7.5. And then 9.5. So let me pick this up so I can show you. So here's 9.5. Okay. I'm going to go to that, and then I'm going to back up so that I see just a tiny bit between where that line is. You don't want to go over as far as that 16th mark, but you want to be able to see that 1/2 inch line in full. All right. So let's try this again. 9.5 at the top. I'm going to score 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. I'm going to cut our little notch piece. I'm going to miter. And then we're going to trim out our piece between the notches. All right. So again, this is going to go down in here. We're going to measure and make sure that everything will close. It's good. Didn't miter that one quite right. Okay, so again, I'm going to do the glue on the bottom first, so we can make sure we're lined up exactly where we need to be. Okay. Apparently, I get glue right there. And in case you're wondering why I didn't mat this before we did the pocket, because the pocket runs all the way side to side, it's very easy to take just a strip that's maybe an inch longer than your pocket, or than inch down from the top of your pocket, and slip it in there for matting rather than wasting that entire sheet matting where you're not going to see 95% of it. Okay. Alright, so we're going to slide this out of the way for a minute. And we are going to grab that's the right one. Alright, I'm going to grab my tab punch. So what we have here is we're going to have essentially a little booklet that's going to have tabs down the sides, okay? So all of these are 8.5, and when I say 8.5, it's just a hair under 8.5. And there's 5 total, so 8.5 high on all of them. Then you have 6.5, 6, 5.5, 5, and then 4.5, okay? We're all going to get a 1/2 inch score down on this end. However, okay, I'm going to start with my tallest one. I am going to go to, I'm trying to remember how I want to do this. And again, it's been a while since I've used this, so let me just, okay. And then, normally, this is not working the way I want it to work. I'm sorry, bear with me for just a minute here. It's been a while since I've used this. Yeah, because that's right, it's going to do that, and I don't want it to do that. Okay, they're not getting notched. We're going to change pace here a little bit because that is not going to work the way I wanted it to work. So instead of doing that, we are just going to use the corner rounder. We're going to go ahead and score them and call it good. Because I have fought with enough stuff today, I'm done. Okay, so 4.5 side at the top, score it 1/2 inch. 5 inch side at the top, 1/2 inch. 5.5, 1/2 inch. 6, 1/2 inch. 6.5, 1/2 inch. Okay, we are not going to miter these because, let's get them back in order. We're going to corner round all of these. So again, grab my corner rounder. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and fold and score, fold and burnish all of these. Okay. We are going to stack these. Truly, I guess you could miter them, honestly. It probably wouldn't hurt, but I don't think I'm going to. Okay, I'm going to start with my smallest and the next size up. I'm going to line them up. I'm going to hold it in one hand. I'm going to carefully get glue on that tab, and then I'm going to sandwich it together. So, if you made my little photo wallet a couple of years ago, and it had a little section of flaps that were all stacked on top of each other like that, that is exactly what we're doing here. Okay, go to our next one. Make sure they're lined up. And again, very carefully with the glue. And then we're going to pinch. Okay, get our next size. Make sure you're looking, making sure that you grab the next size correctly, because that would be very much a Jennifer move to grab the wrong one and put it in the wrong order. Okay. And then our final one. Again, just very carefully get it on that tab and pinch. If you need to tap it down on the bottom, make sure that they're lined up evenly, go right ahead. I'm going to burnish across. Grab our book, and this is going to sit right here on this side. Which really, we probably could have done some sort of makeshift tab with that, but I don't want to fight with it anymore right now, so we're not going to do that. All right, then we're going to have the same stacked pocket combo on this side that we did on the other side. So again, 9.5 by 5.5, 9.5 by 7.5. This time we're going to do them right. So 9.5 by 7.5. We're going to score 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and then again with the smaller one, 1/2 inch, and 1/2 inch. Then we're going to notch them before we do anything else. Okay. We're going to cut that piece out. Okay. There's one. And two. Okay. We're going to miter. Then we're going to fold it the right direction first off. We're going to fold and burnish. And then we are going to round the bottom corner before we stack them together and make a giant mess of it. So this time it will go in there and round just beautifully. Aha! That's the smart way to do it. Not like I did it a minute ago. I'm telling you, there are days that I'm like, I should quit doing this. Clearly, I can't figure out what I'm doing anymore. Then I would miss it, so that won't be happening. So, all right. Now, again, we can line these up. We're going to glue our top to our bottom first. Okay. Put this back in, open it up, and down it goes. Start on the bottom. All right. There's that. All right, there we go. So let me figured out what little piece I need to mat on here, and then we can put our other set of pockets down. I'll be right back. All right, so I've matted the two pockets because it's going to be infinitely easier to mat them before they go in here, okay? So all I did is just center those up with the envelope board and notch those just like I did for the base piece. And then I've got my piece that's going to go right here. And like I said, it doesn't need to go all the way down because you're only going to see about 1.5 inches of this or so. To cut the matting for the pockets, okay? When we cut the pockets, we line up the outside edge, well, the score mark, so what would be the outside edge at 1.5. To cut the matting, you're going to bring that in to 1 3/8, okay? I know it seems like you should go out to get it. No, you need to go in to the 1 3/8, okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to glue down one side, okay? Because we don't want Well, actually, you know what? It's not going to matter because the center tab is still going to be on top of the matting. So it's really not going to matter. Unless we split the matting in half, which I don't want to do. But what we could do you know what? It's not going to matter. Never mind. We're not going to make this more difficult than it needs to be. So we're going to put down the matting. Okay. And then I'm going to put my glue on all 3 sides. And I'm going to line this up, very bottom to the edge, right here. Turn it, hold this down, making sure this stays where it needs to go. And I'm going to push this side in and flatten the whole thing down. Give that just a minute to dry. And we'll do the same thing again. Remember, you want this tab, you want the first fold underneath that tab, okay? Like so. Okay, so again, I can tell my glue's getting ready to clog up on me. It's been sitting here with the lid off for too long. All right. So again, we're going to go outside edge. Got tucked down in there again. And then push that one over so that the same thing happens there. And then hold it down. All right, there's your pockets. That will close up like so. And there you go. I am going to keep matting, and then I'll be back and show you the final product. Okay, so for the front of my album, what I did is I took a piece of lightweight chipboard and I cut it vaguely into a horseshoe shape so to help me line up my flowers and be able to get them all down the way I wanted them without screwing up the cover of my book. So I cut that, I kind of laid stuff on there, and then just took the glue gun and I attached my little greenery pieces from the Graphic 45 flowers first. And I literally pulled out, I can't even tell you how many flowers. Okay, so I glued my frame down and then I just started adding flowers. Like I started in one section and just kept tucking them in there and adding them till it looked nice and full. And then just continued on around, occasionally tucking a couple more in other places as I thought they needed it. Trying to kind of mix up the sizes and the colors because I did use the white flowers, the red, and then some of the black ones just because I did not have more of the red. If I had more of the red, it would have just been red and white. But honestly, the black flowers just kind of helped pick up that color in the paper. So that actually was kind of cool. So yeah, just still adding flowers in here, you know, cutting the wires off of, you know, the little tiny ones for the most part and kind of tucking them in where I wanted them. When this wasn't speeded up, this took me about 10 minutes to put together. So not too bad to do. And then once it was done, of course, I went ahead and glued that down using the glue gun again onto the front of my project. Hey everybody, Jennifer from Scrapping Under the Influence. I am back with a new project today. For this project, I have used the Country Craft Creations exclusive Majestic Dreams paper. So what I've done is a folio. This is 8.5 by 8.5. As you can see, there's a ton of flowers on the front of this. I really did nothing as far as embellishments inside because, yeah, we did this. So what I used here were, of course, graphic 45 flowers, and then this little frame in the center was a Prima frame that I think maybe sold out. I actually didn't look yet to see if they're still there or not. I've had it for a while, so I'm thinking these are probably sold out at this point, unfortunately. But you could do something similar with chipboard and ink it up and make it look like wood, and that would work great. So I did double mat my front cover, my spine, and my back cover. This paper was one I wasn't like super sure about. Like, it was pretty, but I wasn't sure how it would come together until I started actually matting this. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this paper. So, very simple design. We've got flaps on both sides. We're going to start over here on the left-hand side. And I did use magnets to close. So this folds down. We've got stacked pockets here, and I did notch those so that, just to give them a little bit more interest. We've got a big pocket here, and then on top of that, I've got two expanding photo pockets. These are sized to hold 4x6 pictures, just, you know, a couple of stacks of 4x6 pictures. So if you are going to redo this project in like Christmas paper or Halloween paper, or, you know, something from like for a vacation or whatever, you can put a bunch of pictures in here, and you'll have lots of space in there to put those in. So this is going to close back up. On this side, again, magnetic closure. Again, we've got the stacked pockets on the flap. And then here, I've just done just a flip book, essentially. And I did go ahead, I was going to put photo mats in here, and then I thought about it and really was kind of like, you know what? I think I'm going to leave it just as is because this paper is so pretty. And I really just wanted it, you know, that way. And then another large pocket there to tuck other things into. So fairly simple project. It goes together really, really quickly. And the tutorial starts now.